Welcome, family. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to Authentically Being Ava. I'm Ava. So, guys, I'm coming to you again today with a topic that is really interesting to me. This one is kind of funny, but it's not. But let me just get into it. Dating picky men, family. Look, this is a recall, okay? I've gone into the archives of my dating life, and I want to discuss this because it recently was brought to my attention, this very topic, and it's got me thinking back to what I experienced. So I want to talk about it. It was quite hilarious, but very annoying as well. It was a really good relationship for me to be in at the time because it really helped me understand my do's and don'ts. I had never been in a relationship with a supposedly heterosexual male who was like this. I know there's all kinds of people out here, but look, this is just my experience and, what understandings I came to from it. This guy initially didn't seem that way. When we were together more often and in close quarters with each other is when it really started to show. And I'm not sure if this was something about him that he hid at first. My goal was never to try to offend him, but I was having some challenges because I am a feminine woman. I like the traditional roles in a relationship between a male and a female. I definitely am feminine and like to be treated like a lady. So when I'm seeing some of this behavior from the male, I'm just not understanding. I am a person who is into transparency and just wanting to understand what's going on. And what I came to understand was perhaps he was dealing with some stuff that he wasn't ready to talk about. I don't know that. I don't know for sure, but these are some of the things that came to my mind. Is it something that he doesn't really want to confront? Possibly. And people will quickly shut you out when they don't want to talk about something and discuss something, because this is definitely how this person was. But I just was left after this experience wondering, what did I just experience? Is this person dealing with some identity issues, or is he just a picky man? I don't know. But let me tell you, that is not something that is appealing to me. I'm just going to be honest. Still love him, great person, but that extra stuff, I can't. Okay, so let me get into what I experienced, okay? It's okay to have standards. I mean, we all have standards, but pickiness is a little bit extra. I remember cooking breakfast or heating up water, whatever, and the placement of where the stove is versus the sink, I would get water on the floor, and it's not the end of the world, at least not to me. I mean, water can be, gotten up. When you're in the kitchen cooking, I mean, that's just what it is. Everybody has their own method of how they clean up the kitchen and all that stuff. Some people clean up after they, finish doing what they're doing in the kitchen. And some people clean up as they go. It's just a personal preference, the way I see it, But he was like running behind me as soon as the water hits the floor. He's running. I don't understand why, you have water on the floor. And I'm just like, what is going on? Okay, I said I didn't see it, but I can get it up. So I mean, and that's what I did, but he didn't even allow me a chance to do it, because he was always right there, oh my God, I've got to get it because it's going to stain. Look, this isn't hardwood floors. These are laminate floors. So it's not like, we're trying to protect the integrity of the wax or whatever. It was none of that. So, because believe me, I tried to, figure out, okay, maybe it's this or maybe it's that, laminate. Okay. it's almost laughable, but I didn't want to laugh because he didn't find it funny, and I just was like, man, is this something that I really want to deal with? Who wouldn't be annoyed by this? I noticed this as well when we were watching the news, or when they would talk about precipitation and the fact that it may rain. I mean, he would really have a cow when they would talk about rain. I mean, it was like if he had something that he was planning to do, and then he found out that it was going to rain. He's just like, yeah, I'm just, I mean, of course, I understand outside activities. You don't want to be bothered with that. But it was to the point where he did not want to travel in the rain. And I'm just like, it's just a part of everyday life. I mean, what is the problem with water? Like, I'm just like, is he afraid of water? Because people have all kinds of phobias and issues going on that haven't been addressed or dealt with. So there could very well be something going on. I met anybody who it seems like is afraid of water or hates water. It's just like, and I'm like, does he have OCD? Could that be what's going on? And it could be. But I know for sure I was annoyed, okay? For me, it's all about clarity. I ask questions when I don't understand. So, perhaps that maybe once I get an understanding, then it would help me in how I feel. I wouldn't feel so mad or annoyed, if I knew that there was this other thing going on. It's just like, okay, now I have clarity, I understand, and I can, work through that. But just shutting you down and don't want to discuss it and just being uptight, up in arms is what he was doing. I'm just like, is he gay? Like, what is going on? And there's nothing wrong with being gay, but just be who you are. I know gay does not constitute pickiness. You can be picky and not be gay. I get that. But it's rare to find that. There's something else going on. And it wasn't just the water. And he just was a picky person. I cooked some vegetables in like a skillet. And he basically was like, you're supposed to cook that in a saucepan. I mean, he didn't do all that with the neck, but I mean, I'm just saying, this is the feeling I'm getting, y'all. I'm just going to be honest. And I was like, a saucepan. And I was like, okay. Look, I just grabbed what was available. I was trying to hurry up and do this and move on to something else, to be honest, okay? But when he said that, I was like, you're going to mess up the cookware and all this stuff. And I was like, really? So, I went and Googled it. It's like, I can mess up the pans, sauteing vegetables in a frying pan? A small frying pan, really? So I looked it up and, Google was like, no, you can't mess it up. As long as the temperature setting is right for the cookware, you're fine. And so I just was like, what? So when I told him that, like, he got really upset and blew up, because, I trumped his lying ass statement, because basically that's what it was. I said, so what it is that this is a personal preference for you. That's what this is, not you're going to mess up the cookware. Because I'm just like, what is the big deal? It's not going to taste any different being cooked in a saucepan versus a frying pan. What is the big deal? Family. So this is now, to me, become a thing of compatibility, because you want things done how you want it done. Like, who really wants to deal with that? So me, out of anger, and I shouldn't have said it, but I just said to him, because I was trying not to say something that I would regret, but I'm like, why are you acting like a hen? I was just, he's like, a hen. I'm just like, figure it out. You're acting like a girl. And I'm just, that is not family. That is not attractive, okay? Not to a heterosexual woman, okay? What is that? I mean, there's no compromising or anything. It's just his way or the highway. And when I say highly annoying, hens, yeah. Instead of me calling him something that I'm not even going to say, I'm just like, you're acting like a hen. Like, men don't typically act like hens. So I'm just trying to figure out what is really going on. And I really do think that there may be something that he may be trying to keep to himself about himself. I really think maybe that's what's going on. He can do that over there. I'm sorry, but we did end up moving our separate ways. And so I've been checking back in with him lately to see if he maybe decided to do something different, come out or whatever, because I don't know really what was going on. Some of the other things that I noticed that he did was, like, he would fold, his clothes meticulously. When he changed the sheets, like the ends or the corners of the sheets had to be crisp and neat. And I'm just like, look, it's not that serious. For me, it's just not. I mean, I love a great presentation. I have the sheets nice and crisp and, nice pillows. I love all of that. But he would just take things to the extreme. And I just, 2 hens in the barn is not going to work for me. Okay. Family, I'm not, trying to make fun of. I'm just saying, we just all need to be who we are, and perhaps that's what he was doing. I didn't see any of that behavior or early on, so it's at the end of the day, family, we all just want to be happy. We want to find a partner that compliments us and who is there for us, and they will allow us to be there for them. If you're living together and you're doing this thing together, you want to make sure that you guys have a harmonious existence together. If something rubs the other one the wrong way, well, let's try to work it out, or, let's find a compromise to deal with it, instead of just being a hen, mother goose or whatever. No one wants to feel like that. I know I don't, okay? Especially not in a relationship with somebody. Life is too short, when I look at it from that aspect as well. It really is. It truly is. Life is too short to be stressed out over some sheets and some water on the floor. I mean, it's laughable. Just like, what else is going on in this person's life where these minute things are now the center of your entire world? Like, what is really going on, family? Like, really? So look, I did this video because it may, be something that could help people that are maybe dealing with this right now. But, to those folks that are like that, it's just like, be who you are, yeah, but you have to compromise with people. If you're living, coexisting with people, or, just have a close friendship with folks who are around you a lot, you're going to have to compromise with some things. You just can't have everything my way all the time. I mean, you have to really understand that, the other person also exists. So you guys have to figure this thing out together. Sharing, compromising, something. And you both have to just kind of bend a little to make it work for each other, Look, family, drop me a note. Let me know if you've dated a picky man and what your experience was like. This is amazing. Anyway, family, I just wanted to express that. I hope you got something out of it. You got a little laugh or chuckle. So thank you, family. Thank you for watching. Please hit the like button, the share button. I would appreciate that, family. And I will see you on the next video. Take care.